I am Slick Nick, the living legend of hair loss, your personal hairline hero, and of course, the red pill pusher of hair loss. I am pushing the red. You are pushing the blue. The reason you push the blue is you choose. It's your choice to live in a world, in a reality, where you give power over your own life and identity and confidence based on something you can't control. When you were born, it was already determined whether you'd be bald by 35 or balding by 35 or not. And yet you are living in a world where you want to keep giving that power instead of taking the power for yourself. So let's talk more about this. Demographically, I know so much about you. You're either a teenager or you're in your early 20s. I don't have many viewers much older than that are still worried about their hair, because as you grow older and mature, you start thinking like a man. You accept what is in my teachings, and that is that you're judged by 10 things. If you want to find out what those things are, you look there in the description, you watch the video. But what I want to do in this video specifically, so as I said, demographically, I already know that you are consuming porn quite regularly. It's funny because no one's correcting me. That's how I know. I have, in the last year, I've received one comment from a person saying, I don't consume porn. One person. You would think people would be correcting me. They're not. It's because I'm right. You are consuming pornography. And, let me get my list. Speaking of the list of 10 things, we know that pornography destroys confidence. Now, I'm not making a religious issue out of pornography. I mean, granted, it is a religious issue for me personally, but for you, I'm making it a psychological issue because I'm telling you, consuming pornography is the same as allowing yourself to be sexually assaulted psychologically. That is what it is. So of course it destroys your confidence. Of course it causes you to become self-centered and insecure. And so I want to talk more about that, because for me, this is something I actually am passionate about, is helping you realize that being your father figure, being your internet dad, you need me in your life. Think about it. If your dad was really that involved in your life and he was really mentoring you and teaching you this stuff, you wouldn't spend time on me. You wouldn't make time out of your schedule to hear me teach you truth about life. Your father's not involved enough. Otherwise, he would already tell you this stuff. You would be a confident young man who wouldn't be obsessing over your superficial appearance when really, so harshly, you're being judged by the other 10 things that I just flashed on the screen. What I want to do in this video, though, is a little bit different. This is an envelope from my church where, you put your tithe in there. And, I've said before in other videos that I place a high value on making money, managing money, investing money. That's very important to me. But I will also tell you that 10% of our income leaves this house and is sent to the church, which also from there helps other people, homeless people, people who don't have enough food, etc. People overseas, people here in the United States, people in other countries. 10%. That's what we do, or maybe more for some months. I mean, because we also sponsor at least one child somewhere in South America too. So there's money going out that we give a tenth. So this is a tithe envelope. But I was taking notes from the sermon, and the sermon was actually the pastor saying 5 ways to stop complaining. And so that was the thing. The answers, which isn't necessarily relevant to this video, but remember the victory, remember God's provision, remember God's voice, remember you're not alone, invest in others. Now granted, you're saying, but Nick, I'm not a Christian, I'm not like you. Well, okay, well, if nothing else, what can you glean from that? Say you don't believe in God. Well, you can invest in others, which again goes back to the list. That list of 10 things that makes you more attractive is focusing on other people. Almost all of those things, most of those things have to do with catering to improving other people's lives. When you're confident, you can be a person who is able to do that. That's the first thing. You're more likely to respect women and help other men. You want to see them succeed. When you find your unique skill set, you're able to help people by doing that in the same way that I mentor you. The healthy and active thing, that's more about taking care of your temple. But I guess if you stay healthy and alive, you can help other people, right? But being decisive, often people need someone to help them make decisions that they're not willing to make. being committed, that helps other people too. I mean, these all, being a leader, being a good communicator, being funny, being emotionally intelligent, these are all things that ultimately help other people, which is what makes people like you. But go back to the notes here though. I want to talk more about the pornography thing. So you all know me by now, that this is one of the main things I'm enforcing. I understand that fundamentally, the fact that you're consuming pornography is one of the main reasons you're so obsessed over yourself, specifically your hair. And so something the pastor had said in the sermon, he was talking about kind of a series of events. Lust leads to insecurity, which leads to shame. So let's talk about those. And I guess I need to put those in the title of the video, because you all know me. I can't say pornography or porn in the title. YouTube will not allow me to make money off of the video if I do that. And also I think it like degrades it in the suggested feed to where it won't show up where people will stumble upon it. So that's why I don't say porn or pornography in the actual title. But it says lust, insecurity, and shame. I mean, I know that I'm red pill and you're blue pill, but even with you forcing yourself in that hellish matrix that you keep yourself in, where you limit your abilities and your possibilities in your life, couldn't you admit to me that aside from religious context, when you are exposing yourself to pornography every day, naturally, that's the definition of lust. And when you open that door of lust, ultimately, you're never satisfied because it's imaginary to begin with. It's not real. So ultimately, that lust, that false reality leads to you feeling insecure about yourself. I could never get a girl like that. I could never look as good as that guy in the video or whatever it is. Or I'll never be able to attract someone because I don't have enough hair, or I might go bald. Like, that's what happens. Lust, like, good things never come from lust. There's a troubling documentary on Netflix that I kind of wish I wouldn't have watched, but at the same time, maybe I needed to. But on Netflix, they just released it. It's like the American Murder, The Neighbors Next Door. And I guess spoiler alert, but at the same time, I'm saving you from watching it because it's just really dark. But there was a man, probably around my age. He marries a woman. They have 2 kids together. She's pregnant with her 3rd. And there were some communication issues going on there. And then he ended up cheating on her. So he had a girlfriend on the side. And ultimately, when she found out about it, he killed her. And then, then he killed their children. But I think he strangled the wife, but for the children, he took them to like this big oil tank because he worked in the oil industry, and he threw them in there. Like, they were young. They were just like 4 or 5, 2 daughters, and he threw them in there and they drowned. And that was also that he could start a new life with his girlfriend. But where did that story begin with? With lust. You had a man who was already married and had kids. Instead of fixing his marriage, he did the cowardly thing and he cheated on his wife. But then because of that lust, ultimately, what is shameful, now he's spending the rest of his life in prison. But it's interesting. Lust, insecurity, and then lastly, shame. And if you are living in shame, how can you live in confidence? How can you be a confident person? So I think it's interesting that I so openly, regularly talk about pornography and how destructive it is to your confidence, and how that ties into you being insecure about the possibility of you going bald, when in reality, this is what it's all about, these 10 things that you're being judged by. But yet, pornography is 100% connected to this. There are not confident men consuming pornography feeling good about themselves. It's impossible. You can't walk away from that every day and not be affected by it. Because if nothing else, you're carrying around all that lust in your heart, in your brain. You can't unsee those things, but yet you continue to expose yourself to more, and you need more. It's like an addiction. You need more and more. But it makes you insecure, and it leads to shame. That's the opposite of what people need from you. They need someone who believes in themselves so that you can believe in others. It's funny though, not a lot of people leave comments about this. It's like a monologue. This is a fundamental issue. I'm talking about it nearly in every video, and you're remaining silent because you know that I'm right. Your comments are right here.